Hello everyone and welcome to Odoo webinar, and I'm Ken, the marketing officer here at Odoo Hong Kong, and I will be your host for today's webinar. And joining me today we have Miguel, the business advisor here also at Odoo Hong Kong, and we will discuss how to use Odoo purchase application to make your purchase in an easy way by using Odoo. And throughout the presentation, and we will be answering your question in the YouTube chat box. So please feel free to leave your question in the left-hand side, the live chat box, and then Miguel will help me to get to them at the end of our section during Q&A. And as always, if you have any further question, you can also send it to my email address and also Miguel's email address, which is included in the description box down below. And let's get started for our webinar. And all yours, Miguel.
Okay. Thank you, Ken, for the nice intro. So first, I'm just gonna talk about the purchasing app of Odoo. But before that, I'm gonna just briefly describe what we are or who we are as a company, and the general outline of what I'm gonna talk about today. So I'm just gonna share with you my screen if you can see it. So as Ken has mentioned, I'm a business advisor for APAC in Hong Kong, and what I usually do is I help businesses understand their pain points, and I would recommend solutions based on Odoo's capabilities and features, and I would also give best practices for potential clients within their business, pain points and requirements. So for today's agenda, I am going to talk about Odoo first, and then I'm going to go deep inside the platform to discuss on the functionalities of the purchase app. And then if you guys have any questions, I could answer them at the end of the presentation. So first, what is Odoo? I guess one way to capture Odoo is describing it as an all-in-one management software. It is very easy to use, as you will see later. So I think a good phrase to capture Odoo's spirit of the company would be Fabian Pinkar's. He wants to unleash companies' potential by empowering users with the tools they love. So we were founded in 2005, and in terms of languages we support 32. We have 4.1 million users and counting, with 2,500 installs per day, with a very high figure of 1,459% user growth over a 4-year span. And in terms of physical offices, we are located across all time zones. So as I've said, I'm from Hong Kong, and our headquarters are in Belgium, while our presence in North America is in San Francisco and New York. And in terms of third-party integrations, we have the largest app store in the world with 17,000 apps and counting. So with regards to clients using Odoo, we service different industries, from SMEs to large industries. I guess notable names here on top would be Jamba Juice, Food Panda. While we also, as I've said, we also cater to SMEs, and the platform is really geared towards helping businesses evolve into larger enterprises. So regarding the apps that's involved in our platform, we offer the full suite of business services, such as, for example, websites. We provide a good set of tools for websites, e-commerce, blogs. And from the sales perspective, we help enhance your relationships with the customers, with the sales module, with the CRM and the invoicing. And in terms of operations, we help handle large quantities of sales transactions, for example, large quantities of physical inventory management. We can provide that in terms of productivity. Your company's documentation of various processes would be easily recorded down, such as timesheets, and we can also help manage your email marketing and your events and things of that nature. So when I say it's an all-in-one solution, I guess the key thing would be the integration within all of these apps. So here's just a rough visual on how all of these apps interconnect with each other. assuming that you are a e-commerce company, so your website would actually be tied in with our e-commerce functionalities, while each sales order would be triggered by a customer, and that sales order would be automatically reflected in your inventory levels, for example, or your accounting if you have accounting in your database. So the benefits of Odoo, besides the integration, as I've already said, would be I guess the light infrastructure involved, because it's a cloud-based software, so your company does not need to have to manage physical assets or physical servers, I should say. And then in terms of security, we have an Odoo guaranteed SLA of 99.99% security rating, with automated security upgrades with 1 backup per day, and we also have 3 data centers across the world. And I guess another thing for Odoo is that it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. It is customizable. So for the regular entrepreneur, such as yourself, you do not need to know any sophisticated coding, and you can tailor your fields and your views and processes to your own business requirements. So moving in, I'm just gonna give you the brief overview of what I'm gonna discuss today, which is the Purchase app, or Purchase Made Easy. So, and I'm just gonna start off by showing you how to set up your products, and then I'm gonna give different scenarios on how you would manage your purchases depending on how you would want your products to be configured. And I would also show other relevant features that would be useful for a procurement team and manager. So without further ado, here's the demo. And oh yes, feel free to contact me. My email is at mc@odoo.com, or if you want a live demo, you could just click this link, and you could set an appointment with me. So moving in, so this is the platform that greets you when you log in as a user. And I guess what's really important here is that you can have access to a lot of information just from the get-go by just pressing the spacebar here. You could add in keywords such as, let's say you want your earphones, or let's say you want suppliers. Let me see, contact name, for example, which is not appearing. It's okay. The general idea is that the information is easily accessible over here. So going in, this is the Purchase app, which is what a purchase manager would manage from the daily. And this is what you would call the list view, but you could also change how these things are visually represented by switching to the Kanban view, which is, I guess, an easier way of viewing your information. But you're not restricted to that. You could also have various bar charts involving all the metrics involved in the purchasing. And in terms of filters, let's say you are looking for specific activities for today with regards to purchasing. You can just click here, or you can just compound that. You can just add on more layers of information for your convenience. And then if this is insufficient, you can add custom filters, such as, for example, you're looking at information from a specific purchase representative containing specific information. Here you can just click apply. And in terms of grouping, you can subdivide it into viewing how many vendors you have, or the amount of purchase orders for each purchase representative. And of course, in keeping track with the important dates, you would have the order dates to be segregated over here, and the expected dates of delivery or orders over here. And in terms of sharing these specific filters and specific ways in which you organize this, you could actually save the current search, and you could rename it if you want, or you can share it with all of your users or specific users at the same time. And then, so before I go through the business scenarios of purchasing. Maybe I'll just show you how I configure the products, which is found here. So I guess the company as I've chosen today is Apple, the Apple products, specifically the retro Apple products. So zooming in, this iPod mini over here, this is how you would configure a product as you're starting out. So the difference between how the platform initiates actions would be determined over here. So for this case, for this iPod mini, I've set it up as it can be sold and it can be purchased. And in terms of product type, it's divided into 3 categories: consumable, service, or storable product. For a consumable product, that's when your product's quantity rather is not taken into consideration. And if it's a service, of course, physical quantities are not involved with this particular product. But for this case, an iPod mini, it's a tangible good, and I would want to monitor my specific quantity involved in my inventory. And then you could set your sales price over here while inputting the relevant customer taxes over there. And in terms of costing, you can also add it here, which is really essential if you want to keep track of your accounting. And then there are other layers of information that you can add, such as internal reference codes, for example. Let's just put Apple product 001 with a barcode number. And I guess within this, you can also add an internal note for your employees to help, enhance communication within the company. And then I think what's also really useful about this platform is there's this thing called the Chatterbox over here, which helps, again, improve communication within employees in your company, or also communication between your employees and potential customers or existing customers over here. So for example, if for this particular product, you could log a note to your customer over here and just say, you're going to tell Miguel, please give extra attention to this product. And just click log over here. You can add attachments, PDFs, and you could add followers pertaining to this product at the same time. Maybe you can add in your manager, for example. I'm just going to click one. Click this Arthur Gomez. Save. Or you would have to put his email. I'm just going to put mine. So for this product, moving on, in terms of sales, you could invoice it in terms of ordered quantities or delivered quantities, and then this is the information shown on your customer side. And then for the purchase app, which is relevant for this presentation, this is where you would store the information of the vendor that supplies this product. So for this case, I've put the Apple product supplier over here with a set price of $70 per unit. And then if I click inside, this is where I would configure other sorts of information, just vendor product name, or if you want to add a vendor product code at the same time, you can just put it over here. And then if you'd want to have an extra buffer time with the delivery and receiving of the product, you can add maybe a safety number of 3 days, while you can add a minimal quantity, and you can set the price that would be visible on your RFQ or request for quotation. So I'm just going to keep it simple. I'm just keep it 0. Click save. And then, okay, so this is where it really gets crucial in terms of your configuration, because this is where the platform would determine how it would go about in carrying out the purchase order. So for this iPod mini, I would I just configured it into a simple way, which is just buy. Well, at the same time, you could also add in another extra layer of buffer, number of days for your customer to receive this particular product. And logistics wise, regarding your warehouse, you could add the weight and volume, and regarding your shipping, actually weight and volume, and you can add specific personnel responsible for this this product. And on delivery orders, this, you could input more information here for your for your customer receiving this product, and also the description for receipts, more of an internal message for your warehouse personnel. So, and over here on top is just a brief, which is really useful too if you have, if you're on the go and you're looking to have quick information on specific aspects of your product. There's this thing called the smart buttons on top, which really gives a quick snapshot of what's going on within this product in terms of quantity over here. So you can see how many units you've purchased for this product, how many units on hand, and then there's this other metric which involves which takes into consideration the physical quantity in your inventory, while at the same time it also considers the ingoing and outgoings of the product for this scenario. And then for your product moves, this is very useful if you want to track where the physical location of certain products are in your warehouse, be it receiving or delivering, receive orders or deliver orders rather. And then in terms of managing the quantities involved, there's this thing called the Reordering Rule, which I'm just going to click inside. So let's say, for example, you'd want to keep a minimum value of, or minimum number of iPod minis in your warehouse. You can actually create a minimum order rule over here for a specific product, as I've said, iPod mini. So maybe you would say you want a minimum quantity of 5, for example, or a maximum quantity of 10, and you can add a lead time. But as for now, I'm just gonna keep it simple for the scenarios. But then this is a good thing to have if you would want to have an ever-ready supply of quantities of products. So I guess I would first start out with the simplest one, which is just creating an RFQ straight from the platform. So it's pretty easy. What you can do is just click create over here, and then in terms of vendor, I'm gonna Apple Supplies, and then you can stipulate the order date. Maybe you'd want this order to be done, well, I'm just gonna do it today just to make things really easy. In terms of the vendor reference code, again, I'm just gonna put 8 as 001. So in crafting your RFQ, it's really easy too. You can add a product with just a click of a button. So for this, I'm just gonna do the iPod mini. And description, you could add on more if you'd like, because this, if you recall, this is what I've typed just now, but you can just add iPod mini with only, let's say, I'm just gonna put only 32 gigabyte storage. And here's the scheduled date for the delivery, which took into account the 3 days of delivery lead time. And the quantities I'm ordering, I'm just gonna order 5. And the unit price, so this is the price in which you establish when you're when you're discussing the purchase with your supplier. And in terms of taxes, you can easily input over here. So here's the subtotal, and then you can send this by email. I'm just going to show you how the email looks like. So again, you can use this default this default template of sending this email, this RFQ, while at the same time you could modify this to your liking. You can add another template, you can add on more information per RFQ as you go along. Let's say keep in mind of the Christmas then here is an example of the PDF. So as you can see, this is a very basic generic outline of how an RFQ would look like, but you know, you would have the freedom and the creativity of actually inputting aspects, well, visual aspects to your liking over here. So that's, I guess, a distinguishing feature of Odoo. So I'm just going to click send. So at this stage of your procurement process, you know, the chatter would actually record all of your communication with this specific vendor. So let's assume that the vendor, let's assume that, you know, you and your vendor have an extended conversation about this procurement process, and then he's ready to, you know, initiate the purchase order, and he's agreed on the price in which you've established. So you can just easily click confirm order over here. So as you can see, once this has been done, then action has occurred over here. So there's a receipt order that's waiting in your inventory, which I'm going to click in. I'm just going to show you. So this is where your warehouse would actually validate the delivery from your supplier for this particular product. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click validate over here, assuming that the physical goods have already arrived. Let's click apply. So once this has been done, the purchase order has been executed, and you have 5 new iPod minis in your warehouse. And then, so that's the first business scenario. I guess I've shown you the basic way of outlining your products, while at the same time showing you this simple RFQ. But then let's assume that, you know, you'd want to have automatic actions involved in terms of creating this RFQ. So I'm just going to run another scenario wherein the product that I'm going to buy is a make to order product. So a make to order product is this one. Yes. Okay, so in terms of a product being make to order, that's when a sales order could actually initiate an RFQ. So the system would actually disregard how many units you have on hand. So every ensuing sales order involved would trigger an automatic RFQ, which you would see as I will show you. So here's how I would configure this. It's made to order and a buy. So for the sales order, I'm just gonna copy it here. Let's create a new one. Customer is gonna pick Benjamin Flores. So Odoo allows you to have quotation templates to easily create one. Maybe as your sales orders increase, you'd want easy access to pre-made quotation templates. You can add a validity for this. In this case, maybe I'll set this at the end of the month. And in terms of payment terms, you could set it at, I'm just gonna set it as 2 months, give them extra flexibility. So in this case, the product would be the one that's made to order. So I'm just going to order 4 of these. And then I think another key thing about, you know, creating sales orders is that you could add products on the fly, or you can add sections over here. Let's just say goods, and then you can just drag and drop and design it however you'd like. You can add a note at the same time. Christmas prices, for example. And terms and conditions are really important for entrepreneurs and for businesses, just to establish the legalities of the transactions. So here's the made quotation. I'm just gonna click confirm over here just to speed up the process. So at this point, there is a delivery order waiting for this specific sales order, which I'm gonna click inside. So as you can see, there's a delivery order for 4 Apple iBooks, but the system, given that it's a made-to-order execution, the system is waiting for another operation, which in this case would be the purchase order over here. So this would be the one that, no, that's not it. The RFQ actually. Let me see. This would be the one for the 4 iBooks, yes. So what the system actually did was it actually created this request for quotation upon the sales order or the sales quotation confirmation. So what I can do is just easily confirm this order, and then in terms of receiving products, you can just easily receive your physical goods over here. Just click apply, and then maybe I haven't shown you the headquarters for all of these processes. So just to keep track of all of your received your receivables and your delivery orders, you can just easily access over here. So for in this case, I have 2 pending delivery orders, which would be initiated. This was our sales order that we made just now. And then in terms of inventory overview, you have no pending, but this is my historical data pertaining to all of my received goods. So let's go back to my original sales order. So once I received it, I'm just gonna validate this, and then I'm just gonna go back to my sales order. So at this point, the delivery should have been made. As you can see, the operation was already been, the operation required was already done, and the business transaction has been made. So for other cases, I guess other useful information regarding management of procurement and purchasing. I guess for a procurement manager, if he would want to create vendor bills, he could easily, I'm just going to go to the purchase app. So at this point, he can create the vendor bill over here. So the system has already automatically input the vendor involved in this purchase order, add other reference numbers, and then you could add on other purchase orders for easier convenience of aggregation. So I'm just gonna add here. And then you can add a bill date regarding, it is really important for your accounting. Let's just put it here, 12, due date, the next day. And in terms of a bank account, you could set it in terms of how you'd want to handle this type of transaction over here. It's not set up. In terms of tax descriptions, you can add on more information. In terms of other information, you could add the Incoterm in terms of classifying this for your for freight aspects, and then you can add a reference and description number. So I'm just going to click validate over here. So this is when your CFO or your manager would access this document, and then he would just click register payment, and then he would just validate this here. And I guess that sums up the whole process of of procurement. And then I guess another key feature on this app, or throughout all the apps in Odoo actually, is the reporting flexibility in the apps. So what you could do is you can have a bar chart, you can have a line chart, or you can create a pivot table. You can add on more layers of information, such as, let's say, product templates, or maybe add a currency involved if you're involved in international sales transactions. And if you want this to be in an Excel sheet, you can easily download this, and it would come out in a simple format over here. So I guess that about sums up a very brief tour on purchasing made easy, and thank you for your attention. And if you have any questions, just feel free to ask.
All right, cool. And thank you, Miguel, for this stunning presentation. And like what Miguel said, if you have any question, you can leave it in the live chat box right now. Because I can see right now we don't have questions in this moment, because maybe one of the reasons is that Miguel present a really comprehensive demo, this for sure, and then you guys have a knowledge and also understanding based on Miguel presentation. And if you have any, don't hesitate to raise it out now, or even you can send it to Miguel afterwards. And then, all right, maybe we can have 1 minute for you guys to leave your questions. So let's have a break for
Sure.
Miguel. All right. All right, we've got a question, and see if we can handle it in this moment, because we have time limitation, and it really takes a lot of time to handle this question. Maybe for the one who raised out this question can send email to us so that we can handle it afterwards.
Let's try to.
All right, and then the question is, how can I create descriptive items and process out a request for quotation without creating product, I guess he mentioned.
How can I create descriptive items and process RFQs without creating products?
Maybe a little bit clarification have to be stated.
That's a pretty loaded question, actually.
All right, okay. We've got another question. What are the new features introduced in Odoo 12 for purchase management? I think for this one, you can go to our YouTube channel, and there is a video showcasing every news update and features with respect to our Odoo version 12, and it really covers the Odoo purchase management, and you can refer to that video. And then, all right, this one, can you briefly introduce the configuration menu?
Yeah, that's
all right.
That's very doable within this time frame. So, do I share my screen?
Sure.
Okay. So, well, in the configuration menu is actually, it appears throughout this whole system. So what it does is, this is the back end area in which you would configure aspects within your modules. So let's say, in this case, for purchase, you could add on more variations, such as purchase order approvals, or add-on purchase agreements, call for tenders, blanket orders, and then vendor price lists, let's say. But then, as you can see throughout the whole system, you could go back and forth between apps. So in terms of sales, you can add variants and options to configure products, units of measure, which is really important, and in terms of pricing, you can add discounts, or you can have multiple sales prices per product. So to answer your question, configuration is really just the back end modifications involved in setting up your database.
All right, cool. Okay, and then I think, all right, for the last question, I mean the descriptive item, the attendees make it in a more detailed way, and then I would rephrase his question so that to see if you can understand it. How can I create descriptive products and process RFQ without creating products in inventory? Cause he want to provide quotation to his customer and waiting for confirmation before creating products.
I don't think that's possible, because you would actually have to make the product. The product would actually have to exist within your database, because if you were to create an RFQ without creating the product, so I'm just gonna run through it again. So in terms of while creating the RFQ, while crafting one, you would have to have a product existing in your database before clicking here.
Okay.
I can't just simply write a description, because it starts with your product, and then once this has been established, you could input the appropriate fields or appropriate information in the fields involved. So to answer your question, no, you can't. You have to make a product first.
All right. Thank you, Miguel. And in response to the question, I think because right now Miguel is presenting the out of the box version of Odoo, so that you don't have to handle certain kind of development, and it's well prepared for you once you are registered and you have the license. While for more complicated procedures like what the attendees mentioned, you may have to do it by deploying some development based on Odoo SH or our partners. But this is not today's topic. And then all right, and thank you, Miguel, for this presentation. And then don't forget to click like if you found this video helpful, and then also subscribe to our video, as more webinar and also other kind of video is releasing soon. So don't forget to subscribe to our video. And also, if you have any further question, you can send it to my email and also Miguel email. And then we'll see you 2 weeks later based on the topic of, sorry, just a moment. And then how to manage a service company. And then see you 2 weeks later. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.